Okay, so this tutorial has been a little intimidating, mainly because there's so much to cover with wall play. I could make a dozen videos breaking down each and every part of wall play, but I'm going to have to strictly focus on the mechanics with a little bit of strategy, and I'm going to cap explaining wall mechanics at a certain point to make sure we're focusing on the low level portion of using the wall. So for all of you mid, plat, and higher players looking to hone your wall-to-air dribble skills, you're just going to have to wait for the advanced version of this video. You know I like my categories, so let's break this up into 3 manageable sections. We'll start with wall play mechanics, which will be the bulk of our discussion, and then we'll move on to defensive and offensive strategy. The mechanics on the wall are actually very similar to taking shots from the ground, and yeah, gravity is pulling you and the ball in a different direction, but the only other thing that changes here is your perspective. All other physics here in the game remain the same, so working on your wall play begins with getting comfortable with your pivoted perspective on the wall. Start by getting really comfortable with driving higher and lower on the wall by moving left and right. Be sure and change your camera options and figure some things out. Like, what's the minimum speed you can drive before you start to slide down the wall? Or how near to the ceiling can your car hang on the wall before it begins to fall off? What happens when you power slide on the wall at full speed? Easily, the most disorienting part of driving on the wall is transitioning from the ground, so make sure you familiarize yourself with that camera swing when you power through the crease. Remember in the intro video to this series when we discussed progressive mechanics? Well, wall play is a progressive mechanic. It starts with easier shots on the wall and then works up to more difficult angles of contact, and finally it morphs into something completely different when you need to jump off of the wall to make contact. Most players are going to start their wall play by fulfilling the need to reach the ball before their opponent does. So naturally, the first experience with the wall is simply driving up the darn thing and hitting the ball as hard as you can. There are a few things to note when you drive up the wall to hit the ball. Navigating the lip, aka the crease, isn't easy because the path your car takes isn't very intuitive. Notice in the shot here the direction the car takes to get there. You need to consider this when approaching the shot. If you want to hit a ball with power and with loft, you're going to need to hit the underside of the ball and send it flying. You'll clear the ball better if the ball is rolling up the wall at the same time. Vice versa, if you need to hit the ball downwards, for instance into the goal, you'll need to hit it while driving level and let gravity do the work, or you can hit the top of the ball to hammer it downward. The key here is to make sure the ball is rolling on the wall. You're going to constantly miss balls that you think are making wall contact. A good rule of thumb here is that if the ball rolled up the wall to begin with, it will be on the wall when you get up there. However, if there's even the slightest bounce when it heads up the wall, it will be a few feet off and you'll need to jump to it. So this leads us to the next stage of the wall usage, which is jumping off the wall to hit the ball. This is the first time in any of the series that you're going to have to rely on a group of mechanics to accomplish a single task. Because hitting the ball isn't just about making good contact, it's also about landing so you continue for your next play. So we need to add air roll. Hopefully you've started to incorporate air roll into your gameplay by around gold 1. For low level play, it's used as a recovery tool. Instead of flailing all over the place to point your wheels towards the ground when you jump off the wall, incorporate some roll. In most scenarios, you'll have a lot of time before you hit the ground, so you can just hold down an air roll button and spin until your car's wheels are facing downward. So what sort of jumping hits can you use and when can you use them? The possibilities are kind of endless here, but let's cover some of the more effective wall shots. I feel the easiest jump to use to make contact with the ball is a side dodge. You've probably used this plenty of times before, but a side dodge is always to the right or the left of the field no matter what your orientation. So when you are on the wall and you dodge to the right, you'll head to the right of the map and not downward. Now there are a few benefits to this shot, starting with where a side dodge puts you on the field after the shot itself. It's a powerful jump and you'll fly almost to the center of the field ready for the next play. So even if you miss, you're still in good position. Your trouble here is that your car will almost perform a complete rotation, meaning your wheels will not be facing the ground. So in order to have any value in the next play, you'll need to get comfortable rolling so you hit the ground running. A side dodge is sort of a centering shot, and it will get the ball on target if you hit it a little behind it, or it will center for your teammates who are waiting lateral to you. A lot of players make the mistake of squaring up with the ball, forgetting they are driving forward when they're on the wall. The result of this is jumping ahead of the ball and missing it entirely. So to compensate, jump before you're square with the ball. Again, it's just a matter of repetition and practice to get the mechanic down right. so you can start to see how the possibilities of wall play are quickly becoming endless. Let's talk about another shot that's used more for offense before getting into some strategy, which is jumping off the wall and hitting the ball with a flip forward. Just like being on the ground, a jumping dodge is great for getting extra power and aiming your shot. I think the reason why this shot off the wall is so comfortable is because you've done it hundreds of times from the ground, and now you're just adding a few more components to the mechanics so it can be used on the wall. To get the most power, head towards the ball on an upward angle and jump before you're square with the ball, but close enough that your dodge won't expire by the time you get there. Roll so your car is right side up, make some small adjustments in the air so your shot is on target, and then flip forward. The better your angle is when you leave the wall, the less you'll need to adjust while you're in the air. This is a pretty deadly shot if you can aim it really well. Most defenders aren't expecting a strong shot off the wall here, so really work on your aim. And from here on out, taking shots off the wall will require some fast thinking and some creativity. I sort of have the luxury of showing you some very basic angles with some basic shots during a tutorial. And you'll always be applying these same principles, but the ball will be coming from different angles, at different speeds, at different areas on the pitch. Consider every chance to hit a wall shot practice. Have an idea of the shot you want to perform ahead of time, and execute that shot the way you feel it needs to be played out in order to make an optimal touch. When it doesn't work, you're just going to have to ask yourself why it didn't work. Were you too slow or too fast? Did you not hit it at the right angle? Honestly, the only wrong answer is to not ask for one. Okay, so before we get into strategy and theory, I wanted to remind everyone that this is a series on mechanics. So I'll be going into more detail with some strategy in the future videos, but the focus here is really on the how and not on the why. Nonetheless, let's talk a little bit about offensive and defensive situations you're going to find yourself in while you're on the wall. I think the first offensive play you're ever going to make on the wall will be centering the ball. The goal here is to get the ball to drop from the crossbar into a position where your teammate can slam it in. In the beginning, you're really just hitting the ball into the wall and you're kind of hoping for the best sort of ricochet, but eventually you want more control by dribbling up there and trying to drop it into the center. Centering the ball like this will be super effective from silver to high gold, but this is one of those skills that relies on some inability from your opponent. Once your opponent is able to drive up the wall and challenge you, or they stop making mistakes while they're in goal, this shot becomes less and less effective. Eventually you'll start taking shots from midfield and on the wall, and again, while these bangers can be unpredictable and can catch your opponents off guard, you're still relying on their mistakes to gain a goal. You're not relying exclusively on your own expertise. If you think about it, most players can stop a shot on goal no matter where it's coming from after silver 2, so long as they're set up properly. And there's really no difference between a wall shot and a ground shot at midfield, so don't really bank on this being super effective later on. Around Platinum, you'll start to discover that the most effective wall play will actually be passing. Passing is definitely something that requires its own videos, and it's something that has to be preconceived, as in your teammates need to know you're going to throw up a pass instead of a shot or a clear. And here kind of lies the problem. Gold and low plat level players aren't really ready for their teammates to throw up passes. It's just not part of the meta yet. And it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, at low level, you still weren't sure if your teammate was able to beat the defense at the half line yet, so your positioning was cautious. You didn't leave goal until you knew it was safe, and even then you were probably just water skiing behind your teammate waiting for him to fail. Passing requires a trust that simply hasn't been earned yet, so you're going to need to play with a buddy, or you'll just have to luck out and get a player who knows you intend to pass. Otherwise, you're really just centering the ball for the opponent. Okay, so if offense of the wall seems so grim, then what about defense? Is there any hope there? And the answer is yes. In fact, at low level play, I'd argue learning defense on the wall will help you advance faster than learning offensive play. Here's how. Clearing the ball is incredibly effective when you're on the wall. Why deal with a shot on goal when you can stop a ball before it even centers? Wall defense really starts with knowing your goal is safe, as in you know by the time you make a play on the wall, your goal will actually be covered. At low level, a smart teammate will see you're heading up the wall and just rotate back to the goal to wait. If you whiff or something goes wrong, he's going to be there as your backup. And if you clear really well, he can leave goal and begin a counter. Proper defense is really all about shutting down opportunities before they even begin to happen. Which is why pressure is so important. You're constantly trying to throw off their flow and their downfield momentum. And if you can pressure the offense even when they're on the wall, you'll be far more effective. So be sure and try to create opportunities as quickly as you can. If you see someone racing for the corner with the ball, you're going to want to head up the wall as quickly as you can to see whether or not you can block it up there. So hey, that's it for early mechanics of wall play, and like I said, there's a dozen videos that can come from this, and they absolutely will. I'm slowly building a big list that I want to put into strategy, gameplay, theory, teamwork, and basically all things that aren't strictly the mechanics that should still be applied at a low level. My next video in this 5-part series is fast aerials, so be on the lookout for that, and be sure and tell me about your wall play experiences as you rank up in the comments below. As always, the more we talk about Rocket League, the better we all get, guys. Cheers.